Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Do you ever draw and get tired of running out of canvas? I've got a solution for you. Hi guys, my name's Garrett and I do makeup. In a lot of my videos you might see that I use this when I'm doing my renderings. I call this my infinite scrolling art canvas. It's something I came up with in high school when I was working as a stage manager. I got tired of flipping all the pages, so this way I could keep all the cues together. I could literally just scroll through cue lights, cue sound, cue lights, cue sound. And it's something that I really enjoyed. So I'm going to show you how to make one of these today. And let's go down to the surface below and we should get started. Cool. For this video you're going to need some tape, a pencil, a knife, some parchment paper, and a crossword companion. Now this crossword companion I ordered off of Amazon, and I'll put a link down in the description below so you can find and purchase one for yourself. So this is just going to be a life hack. This object does exist and is trademarked in the United States and in Europe, but we're just going to slightly modify it for our needs. So we're going to open up the box here, take it out of the plastic, and it's really cool. It's made for like road traveling, so you can do crosswords while you're in the car, but we're going to modify it. And then it also has this nice little drawer on the side that comes with an extra roll of crossword and a pencil sharpener. So depending on if you want the crosswords or you're just going to toss them, you can make 2 rolls and have a spare backup ready to go. And it opens on the side right here, and then on the inside, this is the device itself. So you can see as I scroll, it just pulls the parchment from one side to the other. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to remove the scroll, and then there's this really important thing right here, this little sticker. Do not discard of this. It is very important. It even says it right there. Do not discard of this. We need it to be able to attach the parchments to the plastic spools that actually feed it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to remove this secondary spool from its plastic. And I'm going to get rid of the crossword puzzle that's already in the system itself. To do that, you just got to pull out here on the side right here on the little right, and just get a little yank and tuck it in. And it has little notches that align, so you just kind of got to turn it until you feel it click in place. And then once it's clicked in place, oh, come on, work with me. Come on. There we go. Alright, so now it's spinning. So we're going to take this little sticker that we saved specifically for this purpose. I'm going to stick it on, and we're just going to attach the two together. Now you can do this by hand, but I find it so much easier if you use the device. And we're just going to start winding it. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, it kind of falls off sometimes, so you just gotta make sure you get it nice and tight. And just for the sake of the crossword companion, I'm gonna turn it this way so you can't see all the crosswords in case you actually want to do them. And then it's gonna get really tight. At one point, the crossword's no longer gonna want to scroll, simply due to the fact that we're trying to put 2 of these scrolls on one spool. It's not meant to do that. It's only meant to put 1 per spool. So I'm gonna have to take it out by hand, and here just hand scroll the rest of this right here. And then once we get to the end, we're just gonna make sure that we peel off the little sticker, and then we're good to go. So now that the spool's been removed, we're just going to set this to the side, and we can use that later if we want to make crosswords. So this is what the whole project's been so far about, these 2 little spoolie parts. It's what's going to feed our parchment between the 2 ends. So we're just going to set this aside for a second. We're going to grab our parchment paper. And this is just normal parchment paper that you use for making cookies or whatever you can find in any grocery store. And now you see how loose it is? So what we're going to need to do before we cut it, we're going to have to tighten that. So we're going to put it here on the counter, and we're going to push down, and we're going to spin. So we're going to tighten it by spinning it tighter and pushing down onto the counter. And we're just going to do that until it's nice and tight, and almost there. And it gets to a point where your finger kind of gets caught, so we're going to pull our finger out. Now we got to turn it the other way. So we're going to turn it sideways, and we're going to push in from the ends, and we're going to continue to turn it so it tightens. So we've got our fingers on the ends pressed nice and tight, pushing it, and we're going to keep turning and tapping and turning and tapping until we get it nice and tight. And you want this as tight as absolutely possible. Almost there. And there we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn it, and we're going to put it onto the counter and continue our previous method. So we're pushing down, and we're turning to tighten it. And this depends on clockwise or counterclockwise, depending on which direction you're turning. But just get it absolutely as tight as possible. I can't stress the importance of this enough. And then once you get it as tight as you think you can, we're going to take a piece of tape, and we're just going to start taping every couple inches down the parchment paper so that when we cut, it doesn't unroll on us. Now keep in mind, parchment paper has a waxed lining on it, so we want to make sure that we are taping to the tape, which means we put the tape on, wrap all the way around till the tape touches the tape itself. We're just going to do this 3 or 4 times, just kind of down it until we get it done. Perfect. And the last step is we want to tape that loose little flippity flap right on down. So on the parchment paper where the exposed part is where you normally cut it through the box, we're just going to tape that down nice and flat and give it a nice press. Now, you can cut off the ends. I left it a little long. I like to wrap around the end. It helps me notice if the parchment's coming unrolled. And then what we want to do is take our little spool, and you want to get it nice and tight to the end, so it's on the inside of the spool, and you want to take a pencil and mark on the inside of the other side of the spool. So what we're doing is denoting the size of the paper, and we're just going to do this all the way around the spool. That way when we're cutting, we don't have any issues, and we can keep lining it up. There we go. So I marked it all the way around the parchment. And then I'm going to push nice and tight on the table to keep that roll nice and straight on those ends. I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to line it up with the 2 marks that at least that I've made on the parchment. And now I'm pinching the parchment roll itself and pushing down with the knife. This friction that's created by the pressure of both of these directions is actually going to keep it in place. Now I'm still going to stop every couple seconds and tap the ends just to make sure it's nice and straight because I don't want it to be too big for the spool and I don't want there to be any issues. So as you're cutting, you're just going to slowly keep rotating the spool and cutting through until you get all the way through the parchment roll. Now, if you notice, we can get 2 or 3 of these parchment rolls, depending on the size of the parchment paper that you buy. So I'm just going to set this one aside, and then we're going to continue with this one. So as you can see, it fits nice and snugly right inside of our spool. And let me just clean up here for a second, get some stuff out of the way, pull this back down, and there we go. So now what we want to do is remove the tape. Hopefully you're better at this than I am. I can never find the ends. Come on. Come on. Come on. Ugh. There we go. Okay. And now we're going to want to start threading this onto our spool. Now, if you notice, it is the exact size of the spool, and the slit in the spool is slightly smaller. So we're going to have to bevel these edges to make sure that it fits. So just take a little piece, line it out, and I'm going to grab my cutting implement here. Oh, I shouldn't have put this away yet. There we go. And now I'm going to cut just a little bit at a diagonal angle. Take that away, cut one more time from the other side at just a diagonal angle, and remember, always cut away from yourself, not towards yourself. And now that I have this little tapered edge that I can put inside of the spool, so that I can start winding it. And just feed it through. Now, keep in mind the parchment paper is waxed. It doesn't like having tape stick to it. So you're going to have to try to stick the tape to the plastic spool itself. And this might take a couple tries to get it to stick just right. And then the other important thing you do is make sure that as you're aligning the parchment, you align it nice and flush to the roll so that it winds evenly down the length of the roll. Come on, almost there. There we go. And just pull it nice and tight, and then we're going to start winding it just a little bit to get a lead, and this doesn't look right. Yeah, that's... Alright, so I made that one crooked, so give me 1 second, I'm going to take 2 on this. Nice and tight. There we go. And I'm just going to wind it just a little bit. I don't want too much on it, but just a little bit of a lead will help out when we start our winding. So I'm going to pull this back down here, and I'm going to flip it. Keep in mind, you want the paper to roll over the spool, so you don't want it to be under-rolled, you want it to be over-rolled. So just like this, when I put it in there, the paper rolls on top and up, not down. You know, it's like a giant toilet paper debate. Does the tongue go up or down? And then we're just going to wind it. Yes, you can do this by hand, but I like to use the device. I think it makes it easier. And we're going to keep it nice and tight as we're winding it. You can see that there's tension in the paper. And then every so often, I'm just going to stop and I'm going to give it a little extra tug just to make sure that I'm getting as much of the parchment paper onto the spool as possible. Keep in mind, if you choose not to use parchment paper and you use something else like you're using Bristol paper or you're using watercolor paper, it can wrinkle. So you want to make sure that you take this nice and slow. Luckily with parchment paper, it doesn't crease very easily, so it's much, much more forgiving. Now it's key that when you're doing this, that you do not make the spool wound higher than the edge of the spool itself. And once you get it wound, we're going to cut it, not there, we're going to cut it down here on the edge. It makes it a nice, clean, even cut. And like I said, on the spool, you want to make sure that it's just wound to that edge of the black rim of the spool. Anything larger than that, it's made so that it won't fit. So I'm just going to make sure it's nice and tight in here, give it a little extra tug here, wrap around. There we go. Now see how it's just nice and flush with that edge? It's not over the edge. I might have underwound it just a little bit here, but just to play it on the safe side. Now, keep in mind, there's all this extra paper, and that was only one cut, and if you can make 2 or 3 out of that, then it looks like you're going to be able to wind this spool 4 or 5 times out of one roll of parchment paper. And parchment paper is pretty cheap. I think I got this roll for like $3 at the grocery store. Now, keep in mind, it doesn't fit, so we're going to have to bevel this edge as well. Little slit. And come on. There we go. And a little slit on the other side. There we go. And now we're going to take our spool and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to attach it just onto the edge. There we go, fold it over, and this takes me a couple tries sometimes. The waxiness makes it real hard. It's much easier if you're using an art paper like a Bristol or a watercolor paper, but at the same time, you don't get that nice translucency that you get with the parchment. And I like to be able to burnish the paper, so with the parchment paper when I draw on it, if I push really hard with like a Q-tip or a cotton bud, it actually melts the wax and helps the color incorporate into the paper. So instead of having it sit on top of the paper, it's almost polished into it. So that's kind of why I really like using parchment paper. You can use anything. If you can find tracing paper in the roll, anything that you can roll, pretty much, you can even make your own rolls taping it together. It's just a real pain. Now we're gonna get this nice and tight and slowly get a little bit on there, roll it, roll it, roll it. And once I get a little bit of a lead, I'm just gonna kind of bring them together, make sure it's nice and tight. And there we go. Now we have our medieval scroll. Hear ye, hear ye. We have parchment paper to spare. Yeah. So now we're just gonna put it in the machine. So start on one end, and keep in mind it feeds from bottom to top. So you want the most of the paper to be on the bottom and the least roll with the paper on the top. And we're just gonna get it in, give it a little jiggle jiggle to the lines. Now right here you want to feed it down. You don't want to have a lot of wasted paper at the top, but you also don't want to have too little because then it'll fall off on you. So what I like to do is just get enough there that I know there's still going to be tension, and I draw a line right up here at the top. And then what I do is I'm going to wheel it down just a little bit, and I'm going to put the initials D in C. And for me what this means is do not cross. It allows me to know. You can also put finish or end, whatever works for you. Then I'm going to scroll it up and put just another line that we don't have to see that ugly writing. And then that also denotes the clean workspace. So anytime I'm drawing, I put a box, I just literally frame the inside here. And that's how I make my workspaces. Now you can take this parchment paper, and if you're going to go out into town or go to the park, you know, you can always just wind it up and keep it in here. Instead, in here I like to keep my pencils and my erasers, but at the same time it works. So our spare parchment we're going to put just back on the inside, so we're going to take a piece of tape, and we're going to wrap it around just like they had the secondary roll that it came with. And just tuck that nice and neatly in here, and close her up. And there we go, we've created the infinite scrolling art canvas. And that's it, guys, it's that simple. And just keep in mind, you can use this for any kind of art rendering or drawing or anything like that. You just have to change out the paper. You can get Bristol paper in rolls, you can get watercolor paper in rolls, you can pretty much get any art paper sold in a roll, and it's the same process. You just roll it really tight, you cut it into the right size, you put it in, and call it a day. Now, some of you might be wondering how on this one I've got an image of my face. Well, I simply lifted up the transfer sheet and printed out a piece of paper and stuck it in there. So it's literally the template that I made in another video, and then I printed it out, slipped it underneath, taped it down, so that it stays there as I scroll through. So guys, here's a quick demonstration, and I hope you enjoyed this video. So, I just want to thank you guys for watching, and just remember, if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe below. And always, with makeup, you can be whoever you want to be. Thanks, guys.